I was about 8 years old, and I was probably kind of in school or something, and I watched a documentary on the making of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I remember for the first time in my life, sort of, I always thought movies were made in real time. Or I figured, you know, you had to move locations or whatever, so if you saw something that took 2 hours, it took a week or whatever to make. 4 hours after I saw the documentary, then I saw the film twice. And I got in the car, my dad picked me up in a '65 Chevy Impala, and I sitting there sort of kicking the steel dashboard. And I remember thinking, I want to direct movies. And he was like, okay. I mean, most of the kids in my second grade class had heads shaved because they were extras in THX. So it's kind of like, you're kind of like, well, what else was there to do? It's like, it was a particularly crazy time, but there was a lot of opportunity. You could go to film school, you could spend, you know, $30,000 a year doing that, and then $30,000 a year on your films in film school, and then not on the copyright. So I was like, I'd rather work on Star Wars movies. Learn while you earn.
No, I know. Aliens 3 was a nightmare for you, and you know, difficult every day you were making it.
I mean, when you go to a studio and you say, "Here's my idea. It's an AIDS metaphor," and they go, "Interesting." You know that interesting is not an enthusiastic one. You know that somewhere down the line they're going to go, "Let's just get rid of the whole AIDS metaphor." And that's what you know. It just got too difficult to do what we set out to do. It's funny. I learned a great lesson. My great friend and a man I consider to be a real mentor when it comes to how you deal with people was Joel Schumacher. And I called him at one point while we were finishing up Alien 3, and I said, "I want to show you my movie and I want your honest opinion." He said, "Okay." And I brought him over and I showed him the movie, and he said, "Well, it's not very good." I said, "Okay." He said, "You know, you're laboring under this misapprehension that they want you to be as good as you can be, and they don't care about you, and you're giving them all this power in this by not being prepared to leave." This one little kernel of advice was just, you have to be at any given day ready to go. Really, you think that's what it should be? Well, let's see, guys. And mean it. You know, there are actors who are worth taking everybody's time and energy away from moving on. There are actors that are worth that, and there are actors who aren't. And some, you know, if you're going to get something great from it, you're going to give them a little more rope. And if you're going to get junk, you're going to go, "I don't think that's for this moment. I think that's for later." No, it's too hard to make films in San Francisco. I mean, it's like making films in Paris. Paris is beautiful for a reason. They don't let film crews in. San Francisco is amazing to look at because it's not constantly clogged with people shooting their stupid movies. But, and it's impossible, and coming from the Bay Area, I can say this. When I grew up in Marin County, one of the most kind of visceral memories that I had of was of the Zodiac, because the Zodiac killer. Because I remember it was the first time my parents ever sort of sat me down to say, "Now, David, there are people who hunt other people." They're very pragmatic about explaining. So, stay low on the bus. At this time, you know, I was 7 years old, and there was police cars following our buses to school, and I remember asking my parents, "Why are there police cars following our buses?" They said, "Oh, well, there's a madman. He has a rifle, and he's read the shoot out the tires of a bus and pick off the kids as they run out of the bus. So if that should happen, stay on the bus. It was one of those things where you just kind of go, wow. And then, oddly enough, it just disappeared. It just stopped. And when we moved from the Bay Area to Southern Oregon in 1976, I remember looking at the back of my parents' cars. We drove away, actually, ironically, on Highway 37, looking back at Black Point. And I remember thinking, they were catching that Zodiac guy. You know, it was like one of those things that was like, okay, this is no longer going to be my home. I'm leaving the Bay Area. And then the one thing that kind of came back,